One of the coolest parts of our industry is the amazing people we meet every day. Every prospect has a story, and then when they become a member, that enhances that story. The reality, though, is every prospect and every member have different behavioural and communication styles. If we can match that style, we can connect with them. And if we don't, well, making a sale, let alone a friend, let alone retention of that member, will nearly be impossible. Michelle Bowden is a persuasion expert, and her Chantal interview back on episode 83 still ranks in our top 20 of all time. So we just had to get her back on. Speaking of Chantal,
welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognised authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in. Take it away, JT.
welcome to our last episode of Season 4. And I know this has been our best season ever. But what do you think? I really want to know if you agree with me or disagree. So call me, and I'm serious. Call me. Go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/leave a voicemail and tell me what you think. By the way, the link is in the show notes too. So it's fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/leave a voicemail. It's time for our Season 4 giveaway.
The FBP community might just want a fresh new voice. I'm Zoe and the Future Fitness Business Podcast host. You have the chance to win a $100 Amazon voucher to grow your professional library. Here's how it works. After the main interview, I'll drop a secret code word. Once you hear it, head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/code word. Pop in the code and tell us in 30 words or less why you love the podcast. All right, let's get on to the main interview.
As this episode drops, our next free webinar is actually ready for you to watch on replay. It was why 60% of fitness brands are struggling and how the winners are thriving. We had a record number of attendees, so you don't have to suffer FOMO. Just go to patreon.com/fitness business podcast and become an FBP insider today. Even if it's just for the 7-day free trial, you'll be able to see the recording. Now, Michelle is a true expert in her communication craft. So I want you to sit back and really enjoy this discussion. But be warned, you want to sit back with a pen and paper because there are loads of practical tips for you and your team. In fact, this may want to be an episode you share with all of your team. Now, I start by asking Michelle, how can our fitness professionals tailor their communication to different client personalities?
I know, it's such a good question, isn't it? I think, JT. So just quickly, a bit of boring theory, but I promise it'll be quick. So influence is the capability that we're talking about here. And there's actually 5 ways that we go about influencing the people around us. 2 of the ways are aggressive, that's forcing and directing. 2 of the ways are passive, that's modeling and guiding. And the middle approach is persuasion. It's the assertive approach. So actually, although everyone talks about being an influencer, don't they? And there's a lot of fuss going on about being an influencer. Actually, influence typically isn't what you're looking for because a number of the ways of influence are coercive. And most of your listeners, I would assume, aren't wanting to be coercive. There's nothing worse than signing someone up to a gym membership and then they cancel, or getting a team member to change their behavior in some way and then within a week they've gone back to their old bad habits. There's nothing worse. That's what I'd call buyer's remorse. And buyer's remorse mostly happens in influence when you've moved into to a coercive approach, an aggressive or a passive approach, and you've manipulated the person. So in the moment, they say yes, because it's the easy way out, but they never meant yes, and they were always going to cancel. So persuasion is actually what we're trying to do. And whilst there are 5 main ways to influence, there's actually 4 ways to persuade. And the reason that there's not a one-fit-all approach to persuasion even is that we all have strengths and weaknesses when it comes to these 4 approaches to persuasion. Most humans are strong in 2 of the ways and weaker in 2 of the ways. And you need to care about this. You actually need to really wonder, where are you strong and where are you weak? Because if the communication scenario requires what is currently your strength, you're just going to talk. And the person that you're trying to persuade is going to listen. They're going to agree with you. Everything feels so easy, you won't even feel like you're in a persuasive moment. If, on the other hand, the stakeholder, the person you're trying to persuade, requires what is currently your persuasion weakness, do you appreciate you haven't got the skills in your communication toolkit to say that to that person in a way that they can hear it and understand you and believe you and then feel compelled to take the action you require. So what most humans do is when we're persuading someone, we use our strength to persuade that person. But you're not trying to persuade yourself. That's hilarious, isn't it? You're not trying to persuade yourself. You're actually trying to persuade the other person. So it's about trying to work out what would be the approach that would best suit the stakeholder, not what comes naturally to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you got to adjust yourself to who's hearing the message.
That's exactly it. And you know what happens is that when you're adjusting yourself, that's easy if it's a conscious persuasion moment, like a pitch, a sale, a performance conversation. That's an obvious stressful moment where you're having an important conversation and you know you're persuading. But we're actually always influencing, even when we don't realize that we are. So my approach is try and get strong in all 4 persuasive approaches, regardless of what you're good at and what they need. And then without even having to worry about it, you'll just do what's natural and what's good for that stakeholder in that moment. We call them conscious and unconscious persuasion moments. So a conscious persuasion moment is where you know you're pitching, and an unconscious persuasion moment is where you're sitting in your lounge room at home and someone needs to make a decision about what's for dinner, and then ideally you don't want to cook it and you need them to get up and do it. You're not in that moment thinking, I must persuade in order to get some dinner tonight. But the way you address that, wouldn't it be great if you could just say it in the best functional way to the people that you love so that you get the dinner, the person feels good about it, and everyone has a good night's sleep that night?
One of the things we talk a lot about in our industry is about building rapport. Interestingly, in Jeb Blunt's book, People Buy You, he talks about in that book, and we've had him on the show as well, and he says often rapport feels a bit coercive, whereas connection is much deeper and it's much more organic and authentic. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually, I've got a friend, Kirsty Spraggan, who says it, I think, in the best way. She says, find the part of you that matches with a part of them in order to create something meaningful. And I think that's such a lovely way of talking about rapport, instead of pretending to be similar to the other person, which can feel a bit manipulative. I agree, well, it is manipulative. Just find the bit where you match. You know, it's such a nicer approach to this. Can I also take this theory one step further? So I've done decades of research to come to these 4 types that we created, and rapport is one of the 4 types. So would it be helpful if I explained to you the names of the 4 types?
I reckon that'd be awesome.
Okay, so there's a wise owl. These people are driven to persuade by establishing the credibility of the message. So they're all about facts and data. Then there's the commanding eagle. These people are all about persuading by proving their personal credibility and authority. So they're like an eagle in the sky. You know, they own the room. People have a good, strong sense that they can be trusted, that they should follow this person. They own the space like an eagle owns the sky. The 3rd type is called the friendly budgie, which you're very high on, JT. Well, I think you're a budgie eagle, actually. So we'll see what you think after I've finished explaining them. So the next one's called the friendly budgie. And the friendly budgie is all about connecting and establishing goodwill between you and the stakeholder, between them and the stakeholder. That's where the rapport is just super strong and important. And then the fourth type is the captivating peacock, which is all about arousing passion and enthusiasm, which you're also pretty high on, right? So they're the 4 types. And there's 10. It sounds like an overload, I know, to all the listeners that are listening to this. Don't panic. There's 10 actions for each of the 4 birds. So that's 40 different actions that you need to get strong at. But the good news, and it's super good news, is that most of us, because we're strong in 2 and weak in 2, and in your case, JT, I think you're probably strong in 3 and weaker in 1, you're already doing at least half the actions of the 40 actions, right? You do them naturally. You don't have to think about it. That's it. It's just how you roll. It's to really have a look at this and go, okay, well, for example, you and I think, are both weaker on the wise owl than we are on the others. So do you look at the 10 actions for the wise owl and say to yourself, well, maybe I'd like to be stronger here, so I'll just focus on that? Or we're both very high on the budgie, so we're already doing 8 or 9 out of the 10 actions for budgie. Do we just add the extra 10th one, and just be a really super strong budgie? And it's a 1% concept, just like in fitness. You're building just slowly but surely. Pick a small thing. Like one of the things for the friendly budgies, remember people's names. And how gorgeous. You remember my husband's name is Ian, and I thank you for that. So that causes some lovely rapport between us when you remember my husband's name. You know my name because we're friends. But do you see what I mean? Just calling someone by their name is so powerful. And if that's not something that comes naturally to you, that's a 1% improvement. Just tomorrow, try and remember the person's name when you meet them. And then the next day, do it again. And then the next day, do it again. And in a week, you've built your muscle. Just like you would in a gym, you've built your muscle around remembering people's names. That's all we're talking about here. Although there is a lot of theory to it, just 1% gains is all we're looking for when it comes to persuasion.
So let's go on a tangent for 30 seconds. Do you have any tips on how to remember people's names?
Yeah, I do. Lots, actually. So the first thing is you've got to care. So I know that's a bit sassy of me, but you know what? The main reason why people forget people's names is because they couldn't care less what the person's name is. Step 1 is you've got to really care to know the person's name. And you're telling your brain, this is important. I need to remember this. The second thing I would say is an association of some kind. So, for example, this person's name is Asher. And I remember that there's a famous actor called Asher Keddy. So now every time I look at this person, I remember Asher Keddy. And then I remember that this girl's name is also Asher. So that's an association. And sometimes there's a rhyming thing. So I will often say at a networking event, because I know people aren't going to remember my name, they're probably going to call me Melissa, even though my name is actually Michelle. So I say, I'm Michelle, I smell. And people always laugh at that. Posh people are disarmed by it and think, oh, wow, that was a bit rough. Nonetheless, everybody remembers my name.
Clever. I like that way.
Yeah, Michelle, I smell. So a rhyming thing. Sometimes the other way to do it is to break it up. I had a girl in a training course the other day called Prasanna. And to me, that name was hard to remember. For some of your listeners, it's probably a common name that they hear all the time. Prasanna was just something that I wasn't getting the hang of. So I remembered it was Anna with a press. And now I'm going to remember that name forever. It's good to repeat the name. When the person says, I'm JT, you say, nice to meet you, JT, and then try and repeat it at least one more time. So, for example, nice to meet you, JT. And how long have you been running these podcasts for, JT? Like that, say their name again in a question of some kind. Of course, when I'm trying to remember 20 or 40 names in a big event, which I do at the start of all my courses and events, I say, my name's Michelle, and let's see if I can remember your names. And I go around the room and I call out all their names. And the way that I can do that is with all those tips that I just shared, but also I write them down. So as the people sit in the spots, I write their name down on a sheet at my table up the front so that I know the order, and then I just practice it maybe 10 times even before the call-in music for the training courses stopped. I've been round and round and round, and I've said it over and over. And if someone's name is just really, there was a lady last week and she just did not look like her name should be Kerry, and her name was Kerry, and I was not getting this name, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get halfway round and I'm going to get a brain fart because I'm not going to know this woman's name. But then I remembered Kerry Ann Kennelly, who used to be a TV personality on our Australian television, and then, okay, Kerry Ann Kennelly. And of course, the minute I got to her, I said, Kerry, nice and loudly and confidently. And she looked great because I remembered her name. Sweetest sound is the sound of your own name.
And you're right, you did say it before, it is a muscle and we have to work it. So just by practicing it, it certainly helps. Let's go into the sales role that many people are probably listening have. And our most common objection is, I need to think about it, or it's too expensive. What's your advice for a salesperson who actually might hear that objection?
Yeah, it's a big question, isn't it, JT? I feel like the fast answer is it too expensive? And if the answer is yes, then change the price, which I know is not the answer you were looking for. Sometimes it's just not good enough value for the person to make the purchase.
Or we haven't shown enough value.
That's it. Either there isn't enough value, or as the salesperson, you haven't shown the value. So there's a technique for managing objections. It has an excellent name. It's called POO. P-O-O. POO, and it stands for pacing out objections. And there's 5 steps for pacing out an objection. We might even somehow put a handout or something like that together for you today, if you like, so that you can put that in your show notes. So step 1 is to state the objection. I appreciate that you don't want to make a decision right now. Just put it out there. Don't mince your words. Don't beat around the bush. Just straight to the nuts of it.
Don't bull poo to them.
That's it. You said it, not me. So state the objection up front. Then don't say but or however. I'll give you an example of what not to do. I appreciate you don't want to make a decision right now, but what that's saying is, I don't care about you. I don't care that you don't want to make a decision right now. All I care about is myself and making this sale. Their research out of the States found that when you say yes but to someone, it activates their mammalian brain in the limbic system and forces the stakeholder into a fight-flight response. So if there's one tip I can give everyone that's listening to this amazing podcast today, stop saying but and however. You don't even know how often you say it. It's correct English to put it in the sentence. It is just not functional communication to say it. So what we're trying to do here, it's tricky, isn't it? We're trying to forego correct English in order to speak more persuasively. And but and however have got to go. They've got to go out of your emails. They've got to go out of your business cases, your board papers, your conversations, your sales meetings, everything. It's got to go. So not, I appreciate you don't want to make a decision right now, but instead you need a joining word. You need an inoffensive, unemotive joining word. And the words are either and or so, or just a pause and say nothing. Pause is better, but it's harder. So I appreciate you don't want to make a decision right now, and is the joining word. Then you say actually or in fact. Copywriters use the words actually and in fact to make something sound more believable. If I said to you, it works, contrast that with it actually works. Weirdly, just by putting one extra word, actually, in the sentence, it makes the thing you're saying sound more believable. So I would encourage listeners to use the word actually a bit more in your life, just in general talking and writing. Not so much that the person's counting it and they can see that you're doing that, but certainly more than you probably are. So a bit more actuallys. So I appreciate you don't want to make a decision right now. And actually, you could say something like, the step 4 is the solution. So step 4, the solution could be the special runs out at the end of the month, or it could be, and actually anyone who signs up this month gets a free pass for their friend for whatever, or any of those extra sort of added value things that you're offering someone that signs up. You get a backpack and a drink bottle or whatever it is that you feel generous enough to offer. And actually that all that expires. So that's called the concept in Persuasion. That's called the concept of scarcity. If you don't sign up now, you're going to miss out on the extra stuff. And actually we're only allowed to offer this many places at this fee for new members or something like that. That's scarcity that you're using when you do that. And then step 5 is to say the word because. Because is the most powerfully persuasive word in the world. And we could all say it more. It's my favorite thing in my 2-day masterclass because all by itself, it's given me so many wins in life. My whole philosophy is about teaching you all how to get more of what you want in your life. And because is going to take you a significant way there. It's really actually that simple.
I heard that actually just then.
So I didn't know what you're going to ask me, so I haven't prepared my answers. Because is really a very amazing word. So let's do the example again. I appreciate you don't want to sign up right now. And actually, if you are able to make a decision by the end of this week, we could do a special offer where you can bring your friend for half price to the gym for 30 days. Because I really feel after you talk to me about your needs, your health needs, that we can help you as soon as we get started. We can achieve the results as soon as we get started, that kind of thing. Because at the end, with a further reason, because it's really powerful, it gives you that extra reason, that extra fact of why this is a good thing to do.
It's probably inappropriate, but it actually adds steroids to your reason.
Oh, very inappropriate. And yes, it does. It's giving you that extra justification for why it's a good idea.
All right, let me ask you this. You say there are 3 easy ways to be more persuasive when selling our fitness services without sounding pushy or salesy, because I do think in our industry, lots of people shy away because they don't want to be salesy and they don't want to be pushy. They can be professional, and I sometimes wonder whether that professionalism has actually decreased because they don't want to be pushy. So what are your thoughts?
There's a happy medium, isn't there, with this stuff? Because no one wants a pushy salesperson, especially in Australia. You might be able to get away with it. Some of your international listeners, I know, culturally, you can be a bit more pushy. It's what the consumer expects from you. In Australia, I do feel that pushy isn't going to go as well. And at the same time, you also don't want to seem blasé. Like you couldn't care less whether they sign up or not, and you couldn't care less whether the team member behaves differently or not. You need to be committed to the action that is required. So what would I say in answer to this question about not being pushy? I feel like there's an approach that comes from Robert Cialdini, actually. Robert Cialdini is the father of influence. He's the one that invented the scarcity approach that we just talked about a minute ago. One of his other rules is the law of commitment and consistency. If over the course of a 5-minute conversation, I tell you that I'd like to lose weight, that I'd like to tone up my body, that I'd like to feel better in myself, less foggy in the head, that I'd like to feel strong as I move through the world, and that I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of feeling exhausted. Can you hear that I've committed to some outcomes in telling you all of that? So what's happened there, and this is not new information to most of the listeners, can I say, that are listening to this podcast. Anyone that's motivated enough to listen to your podcast already understands about this. Get the customer to first articulate what their needs are and then make it impossible for them to not sign up, because you're going to offer them a resolution to all of those pain points that they themselves have articulated. And that's why those forms that you get a new member to sign, where it talks about what their exercise goals are, and they have to tick a box. Is it stress management? Is it lifestyle? Is it strength? Is it weight? Because what you're doing when you tick the box is you're saying, I am committing to wanting to do something about this. And the law of commitment and consistency states that if you have committed and to the objective, then you're kind of backtracking on your ambitions by not following through.
Michelle, just on that, there's lots of debate in our industry about whether the salesperson should fill out the form on behalf of Michelle or whether we give the form to Michelle to complete and that has a greater commitment. What are your thoughts?
100% it does. Michelle needs to tick the box, absolutely, because if Fluffy ticks the box, I'm not committed one bit. I'm 100% sure about this, that you got to get the customer to fill in their own box and to let them have a moment to think that through, but then to engage in a deep and meaningful connected conversation about what they've ticked and why they've ticked that. And it's worth taking the time. As you know, I've been a member of a gym for a very, very long time, so it's a while since I've filled out one of those forms, but I remember them from my younger days. And you're saying you want to reduce your cholesterol and you want to reduce your body fat and all of that stuff. And then this person's telling you that actually your cholesterol will drop and you can lose fat if you do these exercises with this accompanying diet. Sign up now. The law of commitment and consistency says that you can't back down from that. If you've explained it enough to the salesperson and you've committed to the objective, it makes it then very hard for the person to backtrack.
So one of the things we've talked a lot about today is the words that we use. One of the important factors I'm assuming about being persuasive is actually listening to what the person in front of us has said. Can you give me just one awesome tip to improve our active listening skills?
I can give you one awesome tip, and that again is you've got to care, which I know sounds so sassy. When we communicate, we do so from three main positions or perspectives. We call them first, second, and third position. First position is when you're in your own shoes, completely self-indulgent, and all you care about is your own selfish self. I was getting in a taxi the other day. My husband brought the suitcase out to put it in the boot, gave me a kiss and went inside. As we were driving away in the taxi driver turned to me and he said, "Was that your husband or your father?" This is a really good example of first position. What was he thinking? He wasn't thinking. His mouth went before his brain engaged. That's what first position is. It's when you talk without thinking first about what the consequences might be. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the salespeople in my gym bringing people who clearly do not want to exercise into the main gym floor to show them the equipment. That person couldn't care less about that equipment. They want a class run by a friendly person. They want to come for community. They want to come for instructor-led exercise. It's so obvious that they will never in a million years lift a weight in the main gym room. So don't be in first position and take them into the main gym room if that is not the thing that the person cares about. The second position is when you're in the stakeholder's shoes with no care or concern for your own wants and needs, and that's not great either. When you're in second position, it's an example. Parenting is an example of second position. If you've ever rocked a sick child to sleep, even though you felt like death on toast, that's you being in the second position. You're putting yourself out for the comfort of your child. If you've ever done your family member or your colleague or someone a favor, and it was so inconvenient for you at the time, but you just did it anyway to be a gorgeous human, that's you being in the second position. Now, third position is both. Some people call it the helicopter view. Some people call it the fly on the wall. The idea is that it's an elevated concept, and from up in third position can look down and see first position, which is your needs, second position, which is their needs. So from up in that third position, you can make some really good decisions about what's good for you and also what's good for them. Now, the question that you asked is about listening, right? And my absolute number one tip for active listening is you need to be in second position when you're listening, or at least third, but not first. If you're in first position and thinking, I've got half an hour to talk to this person before my next appointment comes in, and I need to nod and smile and act like I'm listening and pretend that I got their best interests at heart, that is a one-way track to buyer's remorse or just a no sale. If you really want people to lean in and connect with you and engage, they have to feel that you care. This is back to your other expert that you talked about who was talking with you about rapport. One of the key concepts of rapport is active listening. So yes, I would say the big tip for everyone when it comes to persuasion is don't be in your own shoes. That's first position. Try and be in second position or third position. Get what you need, but really importantly, give the stakeholder what they need. That's why they'll sign up to your gym. That's why your team members will behave the way you want them to. That's how you get what you want in life.
There are some great suggestions today, Michelle. It's been fascinating. Now, here's your last question, your last challenge. Finish this sentence. You got to finish this sentence. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm all in. What have you got?
To win in the next 90 days by persuasion, start by
Caring about what the other person wants and then giving it to them.
drop the mic and exit stage left.
Thank you, JT. You're a legend. Well, you really truly are a legend in the fitness industry.
To win in the next 90 days by persuasion, start by caring. And what was the second half?
Caring about the other person, finding out what they want, and then giving it to them.
I love it. Well, you have cared for me and you've given me exactly what my whole fitness business podcast community want. So thank you for joining us today.
My great pleasure. It's been so fun to see you again.
Hey, JT, Dan Lynch here. I wanted to suggest that the Fitness Business Podcast is a great avenue for professionals, a whole host of variety of topics and subject matter that certainly can help in their professional life and in the work they're doing. I myself, after 52 years in the industry, listen and still find pearls of wisdom coming from the podcast. So if you're a professional, listen in, listen up, and gain the information that you need to help your business grow.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dana Milky, and I'm the General Manager for eGym North America. eGym is a global company with our headquarters in Munich, Germany. We serve over 24,000 fitness facilities, and we're in 40 different countries. So today I wanted to talk a little bit with you about Netflix. Essentially what Netflix and others like them who have been using AI and other tools have really driven is a consumer expectation that you understand them, that you are able to deliver content and experiences specific to them. So Netflix does it through recommendations, through delivering clips that are specific to the type that I might like versus what you might like. And so Netflix is really what I think about when I think about the new consumer experience or expectation when it comes to fitness, because they are driving the expectation in consumers today that you understand them. And it doesn't matter how many other members you have in your gym, it's about them. So at eGym, what we try to do is we take the technology and the ecosystem that we've been building out for 15 plus years. And now what we've done is add Genius AI. And what Genius AI does is it really looks at the individual member and tries to deliver super hyper personalized experiences, fitness experience based on their goals. But we do that through the operator. So that member sees that content and that ability to be personalized is something that you can deliver. And we believe as we continue to better understand AI and better leverage it, the ability to really dial that down is going to be a huge advantage for clubs. So if you want to talk more about that, my contact details are in the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Make sure to check out other Rex Roundtable's trusted suppliers. Atlantis Strength, made by and for those who are dedicated to shaping greatness. ABC Fitness provides gym management and software solutions. Digital Revenue Systems, offering digital revenue opportunities for you. Center Hyrox, the official equipment provider for Hyrox. Covery, wellness recovery franchise, offering cutting-edge restorative services. You can see all the links to these trusted suppliers in this week's show notes.
And the code for this episode is Persuasion. Go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/code word for your chance to win a $100 Amazon gift voucher. Use the word Persuasion.
Thanks, Zoe, but you did forget to tell everybody that the winner is going to be announced on Instagram on the 20th of November at 4 p.m. Well, that's US time, which converts 21st of November, 8 a.m. time. But if you follow us on Insta, you will not miss the announcement. So just go to Instagram and search Fitness Business Podcast. What an epic season 4. It's been awesome with Chris and Lisa, Eric, Rachel, Amanda, and today Michelle. Our podcast could not be possible, not without the phenomenal guests that we get, who just give us so many valuable tips that you can use. I know you're grateful, but we are too. So thank you, guests. Thanks also to Jamie and Alicia as we keep playing with this format just to get it right for you, the FBP community. Now, Season 5 drops in about a month, but I don't want to give away too much about our guests yet. Suffice to say, I'm going to tell you that we're going to be chatting with owners and managers who work in their business every day. Next season, our theme is about best practices for doing what you do. You don't want to miss Season 5. There's nothing left for me to do other than what we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.